you're kind of touching on what I wanted to get into next. Like I said, what does this offense need to look like moving forward in order to be functional? Because Sunday it wasn't. Sunday they were inept. Sunday they would get a nice chunk play and get called back by a penalty, or the drive would just stall from the start and they wouldn't get off the ground. I haven't seen an offense look so bad since maybe the Cleo Lemon days, you know. And we don't want to go back there, but Mike McDaniel is supposed. Yeah, sorry.
That's bad. That's how bad it is,
right? Now Mike McDaniel is supposed to be this wonderkind. He's supposed to be this innovative offensive mind, and to this point in the season, I'm talking about even with Tua under center, we really haven't seen that part of I did it again, Mike McDaniel. So, what do we need to see moving forward? How does this look moving forward? Steve, I'll start with you this time. What do you think?
I touched on it last week, and we didn't see a whole lot of it. We saw more of it on the defense, but I think more discipline. I mean, we're losing this battle of penalties big time. We have 27 hankies for 238 yards this year. We are on record pace in Dolphins history to hit 162 flags on the year. It would be the most since 2017 when we had 137 flags. So we're going to smash that. Yeah, we're already up into the 238-yard mark. Last year, altogether, we had 829 yards. So we're already
like penalty yards.
Yeah, penalty yards. Yeah, it's not looking good, and it doesn't seem like there is anybody who's taking care of the problem because it's only getting worse. Most of it's stemming from the offensive line. We'll have a 27-yard run pulled back by a holding call, or that's most of it's really there. I've seen a few defensive penalties. Honestly, where I got these stats from, it doesn't break it down from offense to defense, so I don't know the exact ratio. But for me watching it, it's clearly happening on offense.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you about the penalties. Obviously, it's. Sorry, I had to switch screens here.
Hello, Keith Hand.
Hey, Keith.
How are you?
All right. Sorry about that. Switching screens. Yeah, so I agree with you about the penalties. Obviously, Steve, it's a major problem. It's a major issue, and it's something that needs to be addressed. I'm fairly certain we're going to get into that in a little bit. So, Anthony, what are your thoughts, man? What do you think? How do you see things moving forward?
Yeah, I think I mentioned to you in Discord that even during the Jaguars game with a fully healthy Tua, we did not look good. And it's funny, I heard a snippet from a show that I don't normally watch, like YouTube was just auto playing before I came on the show. And I think it was the PFF crew, but I don't really know because I don't watch these guys. But they had mentioned how like defenses are just catching up to all the nonsense, right? They're catching up to all of the screens. They're catching up to all the motion. They're catching up to all of these wrinkles that the 49ers staff in particular has been putting in place for the past few years. And the coaches from that tree, they need to adapt, right? They need to adjust. They need to perhaps go back to something more traditional because the defenses are literally just saying, okay, throw it over top, right? And if you can't, then you don't do anything because they're just staying up to cover the screen passes. They're staying up to cover the quick hits. And we've seen that through 3 games now. It hasn't worked for us at all. Like I actually wonder, I don't know if there's a site out there that has statistics and probably have to pay a ton of money for it, but like the stats of like, where is the receiver catching the ball on our team? Like, where's the average? Because I would bet it's within like 3 yards of the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
It's been really atrocious. So like, Skylar Thompson aside, we're not probably going to see him this week. With any luck, we're not going to see him this week. Whoever does come in, Boyle or Huntley, I mentioned last week, they need to give the team a spark. And I think in order to give this team a spark, you need to sling the ball, right? And when you get the chance to sling it, then sling it. What have you got to lose, Tim Boyle and Tyler Huntley? You were both on practice squads for the majority of this season so far. Like, it's the end of your playing days if you don't do anything with these opportunities. So get out there, throw the ball down the field, and see if you can make something happen. And for the love of God, Mike McDaniel, if the run is working, just stick to it.
Yeah.
Literally, I if I could add to that,
Don't
I think
take mine. Don't take it.
no, I was just gonna say, to add on to Anthony, like, you have nothing to lose. I'm happier if you throw 2 bombs in the first half and one of them's picked rather than throwing none at all. I'm happier with a pick and an incompletion than not even trying.
Or worse,
Like,
throwing a pick six that's like an easy walk-in because you're trying to hit the screen for the 400th time that game, right?
Yeah.
I mean, let's
Yeah.
get a little
Just go
creative
for
here.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I had Skylar Thompson's stats pulled up last night. See if I can find them again. But basically, he averaged 5.7 yards a pass.
I saw that. This is crazy.
5.7 yards a pass. I mean, and this is a guy who, doesn't have the pocket presence. So you would think he'd be getting the ball out quickly. You would think that maybe, he was just a check down guy, and he was for the most part, but he was also under duress far too often to be a check down guy. At one point at the end of the half, he's dropping back the pass. You're thinking it's going to be a Hail Mary. You think he's just going to toss it deep, and he's back there and he's waiting and he's waiting and he's waiting. He throws a 10-yard pass. This is a guy who didn't have a clue. And Mike McDaniel, to your point, didn't prepare him enough, or he wasn't able to be prepared enough, or he's not capable of being prepared enough. I think there was just too much going through his head out there.
Truly, he just doesn't have the confidence to do what this offense needs. I mean, Tua does not throw it to a receiver. He throws it to a location on the field where he knows the receiver is going to be.
Yeah.
And Skyler very clearly couldn't do that. Right.
Yeah.
Well, what did we talk about before the game? We said Tua's game was anticipatory throws, accuracy to set up the long ball, the 1 or 2 a game that he throws to Tyreek or Waddle. Skyler is not a quick read guy. He does not have the knowledge or the talent, or pick a term to be able to do that. But what he does have is a cannon for an arm, and what plays he excels at, going all the way back to college, were long developing down the field plays, fades, streaks, goes, pick, deep cuts, 7 ins and 10 ins and all that other stuff. And Mike McDaniel's stubbornness, he didn't call it. He called 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage. He called, running backs leaking out of the backfield, and that's all he threw. And then because he didn't change the game plan, because Skyler can't do what Tua does. Not many can.
No, it's true. Yeah. Man, it's rough.
You seem down about this team.
What's that?
I said, you seem so down about this team.
Who, me?
Yeah.
I am. I'm very down.
I know.
I'm very down.
Silver lining, it can only go up.
Well, look, it's hard not to feel down. It's hard not to feel down right now with.
I was gonna say no. After this week, it can only go up. If we lose this weekend,
then
it can only go up.
So you guys all know the Dolphin guy that comments.
Mm-hmm.
He commented then again on another one later in time, and he had said that he knew that this game was going to be what it was with his score prediction of us only getting 3 points.
He said 27-3. This dude needs to be in the lottery.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
That dude is nuts.
Yeah, and good on him, because he saw something in this game that I don't think any of us saw, which was Skylar Thompson is not ready. And I think we saw in the preseason that Skylar Thompson probably might not have been ready. Not that Mike White was any better, but we saw this in the preseason, and I guess being the optimistic Dolphins fans that we are, I don't know what right we have any of us had to be optimistic. We've been Dolphins fans our entire lives, but
We were finally good, man. We got a taste of it. Okay.
Yeah.
But I will say I think we all also knew Skyler was bad going into this game. I don't think any of us, except for, I know you were a little higher on him than most of us, Keith, but
I was.
But even you, I don't think thought he was going to turn out some crazy performance. The assumption is that Mike McDaniel, as this wonderkind, was going to revise a game plan to put him in a position to succeed. And that is why we lost. And we lost embarrassingly.
Yeah. Yeah. So we look at this offense moving forward. I think what I would like to see is, much to your point, Josh, I want to see it simpler. I want to see it simple, just simplified. Especially until Tua comes back, but even when Tua does come back, the wrinkles, to your point, Anthony, aren't fooling anybody. The pre-snap motions and the hey, look over here, and the Kansas City shuffle. It's not working anymore. So you need to pivot to something. You need to pivot to something more real. You need to pivot to something that looks closer to, a 90s style offense. That's just straightforward. We're going to punch you in the mouth. Because now I look, Mike McDaniel is obviously a branch on this evolution of a coaching tree, but this all started with Mike Shanahan. Mike Shanahan, 1998 Denver Broncos, 97, 98 Broncos. They ran it down your throat with Terrell Davis with great zone blocking schemes, and
it was beautiful to watch.
It was.
It really was.
It was great to watch, and one of the best teams I've ever seen play, because they just beat you down. They enforced their will on you.
Smash mouth football.
Yes. And I'm not saying this is what the Dolphins need to do. This isn't what they need to be or whatever, but I don't think we have the offensive line for it, first and foremost. But an evolution, maybe you take a step back in your evolutionary cycle and kind of take a step back and look at what made that team so special.
Mm-hmm.
I
heard somewhere
it did help that they had a quarterback by the name of John Elway.
It absolutely did. But back then you didn't ask your quarterback to drop back 40 times a game.
No.
I'll never forget him flipping into the end zone, though, because you didn't see that a lot back then. It just helicoptered right into the end zone.
Yeah, I heard somewhere that it looks like Mike McDaniel downloaded the playbook off of Madden, the way he's been calling plays, and that he just needs to go back to real football and throw in some of your gimmicks, throw in some of what works, but go back to spread offense. And I think I sent it to you guys. I think it was who was Sean McVay, I think, came out and talked about this style of offense with today's defense, and that to succeed with against today's defenses, with how fast and physical and the speed and the agility and everything that you have at every level, including your nose tackle, you have to spread them out. Yeah. And so, you have to have 3 wide receiver, 4 wide receiver, 5 wide receiver sets. And the thing is Mike McDaniel doesn't do that. He runs it with 2 wide receivers, maybe 3 once or twice a game, 3 times a game. He sprinkles in dual tight ends, dual running backs. And the thing is they're just going to stack the box. They're going to play press because they know you can't beat them down the field. And because of the way our offense is structured, we have smaller receivers that aren't physical. We don't have a tall Steve. I think Steve, or maybe it was you, Anthony, that had alluded to early on in the season, like, we need a tall physical guy. Right.
Steve,
yeah. And our offensive line is not made for smash mouth all game. They're lean and fast because they were built to pull. They're fast, they're and they're physical, but they're not gonna carve you up down and push your nose tackle and your defensive ends down the field so you can run it 60 times in a game between the tackles.
Not between the tackles, but running it outside of the tackles with pulling guards. And I'm not saying you run it 60 times a game. This is not the 1960s. Larry Zonka is not in the Dolphins' backfield.
I mean, the Lions just won running it 48 times, so maybe
I mean,
it is
what
the
did Green Bay do?
1960s.
Green Bay, was it last week or the week before with Malik Willis?
Against the Titans.
Dude, they ran it 60, was it 53 or 60 times
Yeah.
or something like that?
It took the ball out of Malik Willis's hands.
Do it.
That's
Yeah,
back-to-back weeks. So they took the ball out of Malik's hands, and then the Lions took the ball out of Kyler's hands. That's 2 weeks in a row we've seen teams pretty much nerf the quarterback by running the ball.
Yeah. And who are the two better players this season on our team? It's two running backs, in my opinion.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
of
yeah.
course.
So I mean, like, what do you have to
Yeah.
lose at this point?
I'm gonna go to this comment from Mr. Snicklefritz here. Do you think there was a little too much confidence in Skyler because he was able to keep the playoff game close last year? I know his stats weren't great, but as fans, we always expect progression.
Mhm.
Well, I'll be honest with you guys. I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of this right here.
Yeah.
He was able to keep that playoff game close, and I was encouraged by that because at the time he was a 7th-round rookie playing in his first playoff game in Buffalo, in the most unfriendliest of confines. So yeah, I was guilty. I was guilty of thinking this, and clearly I was wrong. Clearly, that was faulty thinking on my part. But I've come to my senses. Now I will say this: I did not predict a win last week. I thought it was going to be closer than it was, but I didn't think they were ready to win.